Hello world and welcome to a Valheim gaming video. Here I'm going to teach you how to start your own dedicated server for Valheim in Amazon Web Services, EC2, Elastic Cloud Compute. If you use an on-demand instance instead of a spot instance or reserved instance, and if you keep your machine on 24/7, it will be slightly more expensive than other options, but you'll get the full customization of literally running the Linux machine yourself. Now, if you happen to not run your server 24/7, that's one way to easily cut down on your cost. Or you can opt for a reserved instance or a spot instance. So anyway, firstly, I'm going to start a server with Ubuntu 18.04, 64-bit x86 select. And I'm going to start a t2.medium instance. I tried t2.small and the server was taking forever to load. It did not seem to want to start correctly. So you need t2.medium at a minimum, and it's possible if you test it out, you might need t2.large if 10 people are connecting to the server. I'm not entirely sure, but you'll have to do some investigation if you have a big group. So I'm clicking Next, Configure Instance Details, and I'm leaving all of this alone. Next, add storage. With the default, leaving it alone. Next, add tags, leaving it blank. Configure security group. I'm going to select a security group that I already created, but I'm going to show you what's in there. The Valheim security group. You simply need ports 2456 through 2458 open for UDP, and I added TCP just to be safe, to make sure that the connection is open. And I also added TCP port 22 for SSH for accessing the Linux machine. So I'm going to review and launch, and I'm going to hit launch. Now I'm at the key pair page. This is where you can create your own key pair to log into your Linux host. I already have a key pair in AWS, so I'm going to use the same one so that I don't have to download another. But you could create a new key pair, download it, and then plug it into your SSH software to connect to your instance. I'm just going to use my key pair that I already have set up, launch instance. Now I'm going to go to the instance by clicking on the instance ID twice to get to the page. Now I can get the IP address here, so I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. I'm going to minimize this. I have all of my commands here to set up the server. And I have a tool that I like to use for SSH called PuTTY. So I'm pasting in the IP, and I already have, under SSH and authentication, I already have my key pair set up. But if you downloaded your own key pair, you'd have to convert it from a PEM file to a PPK file. You could use PuTTygen for that. And then you could log in with your PPK key pair using PuTTY. This assumes you want to use PuTTY. You could use any SSH client you like. And I'm clicking open. And now I'm connecting for the first time, so I have to say yes that I trust this IP address. And I'm going to log in as Ubuntu, the default user. Now I'm connected to the server, and I have a few commands to run in order to set everything up. First, I'm going to update the packages or the package catalog on the server, sudo apt-update. Then I'm going to run dist-upgrade so that I can install any updates that are needed. Now I'm going to install two libraries which are needed for Steam and the server to work. One installed, and I'm installing the second one. Two installed. Now I'm going to create a directory, steamcmd, and then I'm going to cd into it. And I'm going to curl down the steamcmd tar file and untar and unzip it. Now I have a long command for steamcmd in order to download the actual dedicated server. Now that the dedicated server is installed, I'm going to cd into the Steam directory where the dedicated server exists. And I'm going to make a copy of the start server shell command, because next time I update the server, it will possibly overwrite the start server command. So I want my own copy so I can customize it and not get it overwritten. So I'll show you quickly what's inside the start server, my start server shell command. It's basically a call to Valheim server.x86_64, and it specifies the name of the server, the port, the world, which is the file name, and the password for the server. Usually you'd want to customize those, but just for the purpose of this video, I'm going to leave them at the default. Next, I'm going to use a screen session to start the server. I like to use a screen session so I can come back to the server later. It's just easier to get back to the running server inside a screen session. So I'm running screen, creating a session, SCR, and then in here I'm going to run my start server. So once the DungeonDB starts in this log of the server, it's ready to connect to. So I'm going to show by opening up Valheim in Steam on my computer. Let me get the IP address here so it's visible. I'm going to hit start game. I'm going to use my character that I created dedicated for the purpose of this video. I click on Join Game, and then I can join an IP address. 13.57.59.45. No need to try to connect to this IP. I've already shut down the server, but this is just for demonstration purposes that I can connect to the server I just created. I have to type in my password, SECRET, enter, and I am connected. So I will quit and disconnect. And back in my PuTTY window, you can see there's a few log entries about connecting. As you can see, it got a handshake from client. So quickly, just to talk about screen for a second, I could click Control and A and then D to detach from my screen. And then if I logged back into Linux, I could then resume my screen with screen-R and the name of the screen session that you originally made, and you're reconnected. So you can get right back to the running shell command of the server. And there's a bunch of customization you may want to do in EC2 on your Linux machine, but this is just the basics to get the server up and running that works. So I could click Control-C to kill the server. It will save everything and then shut down. And that concludes this tutorial, how to create, start, and run a dedicated Valheim server on AWS EC2. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe.